Hello, let's try this again. My yoga got interrupted by a massive storm tornado siren, so I'm gonna do the first half again. Hello. First, I want to take a moment to show you some of the props that I like to have handy to do my yoga. I always want to have a canvas strap and preferably a couple different sizes of yoga blocks and a couple different sizes of pillows. I like them small. And then I like to have my big bolster and my little bolster nearby because I never know which one is going to feel like the right one until I'm doing my stretches and poses. So these supports are used to allow maximum relaxation in a restorative practice. And the blocks are also utilized to essentially bring the floor up closer to you. We're going to start in Savasana, setting our intentions for today's practice. Focus on what you want to bring into your life and what you're needing to let go of in order to create the space to allow that change and shift. Relax into Savasana while setting your intentions. Continue to remain in your Savasana while intentionally allowing yourself to let go of all of your worries and concerns. Let go of your stress from the day, from the week, from the month, from the entire year. Give yourself permission to be stress-free. Then slowly rotate your head and neck to the right. Take a deep breath. And then back to neutral. And then to the left for another deep breath. And then back to neutral. It's always good to start your yoga practice and end your yoga practice with at least a 3-minute meditation. Now stretch out long, reaching your hands overhead, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles, and then hug in your right knee. You can engage that foot, flexing your heel, rotating your ankle, pointing your toes. Continue hugging that knee. Pay close attention to the micro movements and the compression in your right hip socket. And then reach for your canvas strap. Get it to go across the ball of your right foot. And then you can straighten out your leg. You can keep that knee bent slightly if you wish, or straighten it, or a little bit of both. You might want to pull that leg just slightly closer to your chest, to your torso, and hold there before then swinging your right leg out to your right side while continuing to hold your foot in the strap for a half straddle. We're going to keep it there for a couple of deep breaths. No, Coco. Coco, no. And then you're going to release and set your strap aside while lowering your right leg back down to the mat. Reaching both hands overhead again, stretching out long, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles, and then hug in your left knee. Again, you can engage your foot and ankle by flexing and pointing your toes, twisting your foot, rotating your ankle. Continue to hug that left knee tightly. Again, pay close attention to the micro movements, focusing on the compression in your left hip socket. Then you can pick up your strap again, place the canvas across the ball of your left foot, straightening out that leg, holding it there. You can keep a slight bend in the knee if you wish, or straighten it, or some of both. Might want to pull that leg just a little closer to your torso before you then swing the left leg out to the left side with your foot still in the strap for the half straddle. It's a big stretch. And then set your strap aside while lowering that leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight, stretching out long arms up overhead, and then hugging both knees tightly. You can continue holding your right knee while lowering the left leg back down to the mat. Hold there for several breaths. And then place that right knee onto the floor or bolster across your body on left side of yourself for the supine twist. Your arms are in a T. Stay in the supine twist, keeping your drishti out over your right fingertips. You have an option to use your left hand to apply light pressure to your right knee if you wish. Just enjoy this twist, focusing on the release in the small of your back. And then slowly turn your head to look the opposite direction over your left shoulder for 2 full breaths. And then slowly turn the head and neck back to the right, relaxing your gaze over your right fingertips again. And then your head back to neutral. Lower that right leg back down to the mat, hugging in both of your knees together. Pull your head and neck towards your knees, rocking and rolling. And then lower your right leg to the floor while continuing to hug your left knee. We're going to hold it there for several breaths. the left knee across your body to place it on the floor on the right side of yourself, or on a bolster for the supine twist for the other side. You might want to use a pillow or a block to support your knee. Arms are in a T again. Enjoying this release, keeping your gaze out over your left fingertips. And again, with your right hand, you can apply a light pressure to the left knee at any point if you wish. Just relax into the supine twist. Then slowly turn your head to the right, looking out over the opposite direction. Hold there for a couple of breaths. And then back to be looking out over your left fingertips again. And then back to neutral. Lowering that left leg back down to the mat. While coming out of this twist, you can stretch your arms out long overhead again. And then we're gonna hug in both of the knees once more, stretching your neck towards your knees. Try rotating both ankles, either in synchronicity or in conjunction with each other. Engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing the toes. And now we're going to get into the reclined butterfly. You might want to utilize props under your knees or thighs, like some pillows under your knees or blocks on their lowest level. Your arms are down by your sides, hands facing up, surrendering to your practice. And then glide your arms out to the sides, across the floor, arching them overhead in a half moon to prayer hands. Holding there momentarily before then gliding your arms back down, reaching out wide to your sides like butterfly wings. Hands or palms are facing up again. Arms are back down by your sides. And then once more, bringing them back out wide and reaching up overhead in another half moon. Touching the fingertips and thumbs to each other. You can get your hands in steeple grip or keep them in prayer hands. Yogi's choice. Whatever's most comfortable, we're going to remain in the reclined butterfly pose. And you might want to remove any props you are using before we're going to get into the reclined tree pose. First, straightening out your left leg while placing the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Hands are still overhead in prayer hands, steeple grip, or yogi's choice. We're going to simply switch sides by first straightening out your right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Arms can still be in prayer hands overhead or branching your arms out, goalpost arms, steeple grip, however you're most comfortable. Then we're going to reach for the strap. Get it to go across the balls of both of your feet for legs up the wall. You can keep a slight bend in your knees or you can straighten them. You can pedal your legs out. You can rock, you can wiggle, alternating, straightening and bending one knee and the other, anything you wish. And then continue to keep your left foot in the strap, keeping that canvas on the ball of the foot while you remove your right foot, placing your right ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. Holding that there, you can bend your left knee slightly as an option, or you can keep it straightened, or some of each. It's a really great stretch. And then we're gonna switch out the feet, getting your right foot back into that strap and removing your left foot. Placing the left foot across the right thigh for reclining pigeon on the other side. Again, you've got the option of bending the knee slightly, straightening it, or some of each. Enjoy this stretch. Then setting the strap aside, we're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. Fingers go across your closed eyelids, thumbs on your ear cartilage, pressing your thumbs down on that tragus to close off the airway into your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, we're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. After that, get ready to turn yourself over, slowly turning to the left or the right. Carefully then turning yourself all the way over to lay prone onto your front side. You can rest your head on your hands laying on top of each other for several breaths in preparation for another supine twist. Come up onto your elbows and forearms into Sphinx. And then hike up your right knee out to your right side, placing your right arm out in front of you with your hand on the mat. With your left arm, you can thread the needle. Make any adjustments for the supine twist that you need to as you get into this pose. You might want to use a bolster again, or a yoga block or a pillow to support your knee. You can straighten out both of your arms, trying to lay your shoulders flat on the floor. Arms can be in a T. Keeping your drishti out over your right side. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply that slight pressure to your right knee. Continue keeping your gaze over your right shoulder, looking out over those right fingertips. Feel the difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into the pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also notice any similarities along with any differences. When you're ready to come out of the twist, you can rest your head on your hands again, laying them on top of one another for several breaths. And then lifting your feet into the air, bend the knees and windshield wiper your feet and calves back and forth. Slow that down before lowering your feet back down to the mat. And then back up onto your forearms and elbows and hands into the Sphinx pose again. Hike your left knee out to your left side with your left arm out in front of you, hand on the floor. You can thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into that supine twist again. Same as the other side, you can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T. And again, you have the option to apply a light pressure with the right hand on your left knee, keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder. Relaxing into your supine twist again, noticing the similarities and the differences from the first supine twist and even just from the other side. When you're done, you can unwind, resting your head on your hands again. This time in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper the feet and the knees, loosening out the hips as well. And then lower your feet back down to the mat, sending your hips back towards your feet, getting into a wide knee child pose. You can use a block or a bolster or a pillow to rest your head or torso on. Just hold that position, really relaxing your torso, ragdolling the weight of your upper body. Allow gravity to do the work for you. Just lean into this. Appreciating the simplicity of this stretch. Done, you can remove the prop if you have one. And then coming up into a tabletop form before then lowering yourself back down into the Sphinx again. Onto your elbows and forearms again. This time spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can. Holding that Sphinx pose tall. Before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. Reaching back for your left foot with your left hand. Hold that half bow pose for several breaths. And then you can take a minute here if you'd like to attempt the full bow, getting each of your feet into each of your hands. This is the most challenging part of this entire yoga practice, in my opinion. You may want to use the strap to help assist you in getting each of your feet into each of your hands, or if you have someone nearby that can spot you. However it is that you need to do it, if you're able to get into the full bow shape. If it's too much, just modify however you're comfortable, knowing that your level of flexibility varies from day to day. And if you're in full bow, you can use your breath and diaphragm to rock yourself lightly, or you can remain still, or a little bit of each. And then as you let go of your feet, rest your head onto your hands again with them stacked on top of each other, and windshield wipering your feet again, really loosening out the hips as well. Before then slowing that down and lowering your feet back down to the floor. And then the same thing on the other side. Coming back into Sphinx, stretch your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can. Sitting up tall before turning that left forearm to be parallel to the top of your mat. And then reaching back with your right hand to hold your right foot. Engaging in the half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice. Again, using your strap or having someone assist you, whatever it is that you need to support yourself if you're trying to get into that full bow pose. And again, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself lightly back and forth, or you can try to remain still, or some of each if you're in that full bow. Any modifications are acceptable entirely. Then when letting go of your feet, if you're in that full bow, lower them back down to the mat. And again, you're going to send your hips back to sit on your feet in a child's pose. This time in a regular child's pose with your knees touching. And while sitting on your feet, you can rest your head on a block. We're going to be here for a prolonged period. Take several breaths, ragdolling your torso. And then we're going to walk our fingers or slide our hands to the right edge of the mat, reaching for the upper right corner of the mat. Feel the stretch across your lower left ribs. And then slide your hands or walk your hands back to neutral, sliding or walking your hands and fingers to the left edge of the mat and reaching towards the upper left corner, focusing on the extension in your lower right ribs. And then glide or walk your hands or fingers back to neutral. really relax into this. Lean into it. Then slowly you can push yourself up, pressing your hands into the mat, rising your torso, coming up into a hero's pose. Pausing here, you may want a block or a bolster under your rear. You can place your hands on your thighs. Remaining still, just take notice of the challenges of this seemingly easy pose. And then you can get your hands into prayer hands over your heart. Slowly rising those prayer hands overhead and then lowering them back down, placing your hands back onto your thighs again before coming up onto your knees and getting yourself into a widened stance. You can reach your arms behind yourself, getting your hands and fingers into a bind and exploring the limits of your flexibility, pushing your arms up slightly, maybe leaning back slightly. You might want to bend forward, placing your forehead on the floor, and then lowering your arms towards the floor over your head. It's a really good shoulder stretch. And then if you're doing that, come back up slowly and carefully, and then we're going to move into the camel pose. Unclasping your hands, leaning back slightly, arching your torso. I like to use a bolster on the back of my calves or ankles and reach for it with my hands to then explore this heart opener. And then as you come out of the shape, you can sit back onto your feet into the hero's pose once again, focusing on your breath. And when you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of yourself for a staff pose with a stack of pillows and props on top of your legs. You can pile up your props so that you can ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting the weight of your torso on those pillows or props. Alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do the work for you. Just focus on easing your weight forward. Trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you, keeping you safe. Just letting go. done, we'll remove the props and set them aside before getting your left leg stretched out long and bringing the right foot up high to the inseam of your left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathe into this stretch. Focusing on relaxing into it. Feeling that stretch across your right rib cage. And then coming back up to neutral, getting into a wide straddle stretch. You can lean forward for a couple of deep intentional breaths, maybe using your blocks. Slowly transitioning, switching it out to the other side. Place your left foot in the inner right thigh, reaching for the right toes in a side bend. The left hand is over the right hand and foot. Focusing on your breathing, and again, trusting gravity to work its magic, supporting you and always keeping you safe from harm. And then come back up to neutral, stretching both legs out into a wide straddle again. Leaning forward, you can reach out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead onto a couple of blocks stacked up. If you do have your forehead resting on a block, focus on leaning your weight into it, really allowing the weight of your head to be fully supported by the blocks. We're going to come up once we're done with that, getting into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, allowing your knees to just go towards the floor, sitting up tall. Then mindfully bending your neck and head towards your feet as far as you can go, before gently rising your head up slowly to neutral, imagining a string above your head, pulling it straight up in a perfect posture. And then slowly twist your head from side to side, first to the right, and then neutral, and then to the left, and then back to neutral. And now you can stretch your neck down, rolling it out in small movements at first. You can twist your head and neck back and forth as if you're indicating a no. You can stretch your neck out diagonally, bending your neck from side to side. If you want to move your head up and down as if you're acknowledging a yes, you can do that. If it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction and then a full circle rotation to the other direction. And then bring your head up to neutral, before shifting into easy pose. Touching down to the ground with your left fingertips, then drop your right ear to your right shoulder. You have an option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on the top of your skull. And if you wish, you can move your head slightly back and forth to gently massage out your neck muscles. And then letting go, head and neck back to neutral, reaching with your right fingertips towards the mat while dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. And again, with that slight pressure with your left fingertips, if you wish, on your skull. Moving your head and neck slightly back and forth for that neck massage if you want, before then head and neck back to neutral. Again, turn your head slowly from side to side, gently to the right, then back to neutral, to the left, and then back to neutral. And now we're going to bring ourselves into that wide straddle again, leaning forward. You might want to use the blocks in front of yourself to rest your forearms or forehead on again. We're going to remain in this stretch for an extended period. Focus on your breathing, filling up your lungs like they're balloons with the air, and then deflate them, emptying your lungs before then refilling them with fresh air. Appreciate the oxygen traveling into your bloodstream to reach all of your muscles and cells as you relax into this stretch. Then you can pick up a block into each of your hands. Reaching over your left foot, you can place the blocks on either side of your foot to rest your hands on them, or just reach for your toes. Allow gravity to assist you in your efforts, making this side stretch feel effortless. And you can pick up those blocks, placing them out in front of yourself, leaning forward for a moment, before then picking them back up to place on either side of your right foot. You can reach for your toes, or you can rest your hands on the blocks. Breathing deeply and allowing the gravity to work its magic. Let go of all your stress. Then as you come back to neutral, you can set your blocks aside. Our next pose is bending the right knee over the left leg, extended out straight, twisting to the right, gazing towards the back of the room. Right hand or fist is on the floor behind you. Arm is supporting your torso. Use your left elbow to leverage on your right knee, resting your drishti as far back as you can. Then slowly return your gaze to the front of the room. And again, slowly returning your gaze to the back of the room. All while continuing to leverage the left elbow on the right knee. Then as we come out of this twist, we'll simply switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg, extending out straight. Left hand or fist on the floor behind you, gazing out over your left shoulder towards the back of the room. Leveraging your right elbow against your left knee. Really feel this twist. Slowly you can turn your head and gaze over your right shoulder towards the front of the room. And then slowly returning your drishti to the back of the room over your left shoulder again. Continue leveraging your right elbow on the left knee. And back to neutral. Next, hold the soles of your feet together again in the butterfly pose, allowing the knees to fall towards the floor. Sitting up as tall as you can, and then slowly and carefully bending your head and neck towards your feet. And then again, imagining that string being pulled from above, from the top of your head. Coming up into that perfect posture and gently turning your head to the right. And then slowly back to neutral. Carefully to the left. And then again back to neutral. Now we're going to get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, bend your right knee over your left knee that is also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. You can hold each of your feet in each of your hands. You have an option to use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice little foot massage if you wish. Sitting up tall, and then turn all the way to the right with your right arm behind you. Your left elbow leverages against the right knee, looking towards the back of the room, as far back as you can. Appreciate the power of this twist. Turn your head slowly the opposite direction, looking towards the front of the room, and then carefully returning your head to be keeping your drishti out towards the back of the room again. And then back to neutral. Now you can straighten out both of your legs in front of yourself for a staff pose, reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then arching them in half moon. Interfacing your fingers above your head, you can bind your hands, turning them outward, reaching as tall as you can, sitting up straight, before then bending forward and reaching for your toes. You can do this transition as slowly or not slowly. Noticing any tightness in your back, loosening. Before then coming back up to neutral. And now preparing to switch the legs for cow face on the other side. Your left knee goes over your right bent knee, holding your feet with each of your hands, sitting up tall. You can massage the thumbs into the arches of each foot for a moment. Before then twisting to the left, right arm leveraging against the left knee, looking out over your left shoulder to the back of the room. Left arm is supporting your weight behind you. Slowly turn your head and gaze to the other side of the room, looking out over the right shoulder. And then slowly returning your gaze to be looking over your left shoulder again towards the back of the room. And then your head back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, you can return to staff pose, reaching the arms out wide to the sides, again, legs out front. Making a half moon arch with your arms, touching hands overhead for steeple grip. Reaching tall. And then again, slowly, if you like, leaning forward to touch your toes. Noticing again if you have any tension in your back, any more than you did a minute ago in the same stretch. And then as you come back up to neutral, transition into easy pose, reaching your arms out to the sides, and then overhead for that half moon arch, touching your hands together for prayer hands before getting into cactus arms, preparing for eagle arms. First with your right elbow over the left, arms together, hands together, pushing the elbows slightly up, bending the head and neck down slightly. Have an option to remain in this nice subtle stretch for the entire time, or if you would like, you can slowly look up as high as possible and then leaning your head slightly back while pushing those eagle arms up towards the sky. If you do, your arms will then unpretzel. Either way, you can reach your arms back out wide, touching the hands down to the ground before then arching the arms up into another half moon, touching hands together overhead for prayer hands, and then back to cactus. And again, eagle arms with the left elbow over the right elbow this time. Pushing the elbows up slightly and bending the head and neck down. Again, you can remain in this nice simple pose, or you can utilize the option of slowly looking up as high as possible and leaning your head back slightly, pushing your elbows and arms up. If you do that, you'll naturally unpretzel those arms If you're just in the other pose, you'll just stretch your arms out wide to the sides. Again, then touching the earth before reaching back out wide. Bringing them up overhead in another half moon arch to steeple grip. Sitting tall. And then a simple twist to each side. As you lower your arms down, you can twist to the right, lowering your right hand to be on the floor behind you, your left hand on your right knee. Nice light twist, and then lifting your right arm up high to cross it over the left arm. Reaching the left knee with the right hand, and then the left hand onto the floor behind you before raising the left arm up high, reaching over your right arm to hold your right knee with your left hand before then coming back to neutral, and hug your knees lightly in this basket shape. Here you have an opportunity to get into a boat pose. I like to hold my hands under my legs first for a very strong boat pose, before then holding the arms parallel to the ground in a more traditional boat pose. Your body in the shape of a V. And you might want to scissor your legs and feet for a moment to get an additional benefit for your core strength, either pointing your toes or flexing your heels as you scissor, lowering your legs towards the floor and then maybe back up again. And then as you finish with this, you can lay down on your back, stretching out long. Plant both feet on the floor as you bend your knees. You may want to hold a block or pillow in between the knees and possibly another one on each side of you. You're going to allow your knees to simply fall to the right. Arms are in a T, focusing your gaze out over your left fingertips. Slowly rotate your head to look out the other direction to your right. And then back again, looking over your left shoulder. For head and neck going back to neutral. And then you can bring your knees to neutral. And then allow your knees to simply fall to the left, still with the arms in a T, gazing out over your right fingertips. Then slowly you turn your head to look out over your left shoulder, settling your gaze over your left fingertips. Then slowly turning your head back to be looking out over the right. And then back to neutral. Knees back to neutral. remove any props and hug in both of your knees, bending your head and neck towards the knees. Engage your feet, flexing your heels, pointing your toes, rotating the ankles. And then plant both feet firmly on the mat again. Kicking up your right leg up high, cross your right knee over your left knee, and allow those knees to fall to your right. Your arms are in a T, gazing out over your left fingertips. This is my favorite twist of all, the grand finale. And as you bring your knees back up to neutral, you can uncross, hug knees to your chest, rocking and rolling. Firmly planting both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Kick your left leg up high to cross it over the right knee and allow the knees to fall to the left. Arms are still in that T with your gaze over your right fingertips. Enjoy this final twist. And release your knees as you come back up to neutral. Hugging in both of those knees one more time, rocking and rolling if you would like to. And you have an option here for the happy baby. Reaching for each of your feet with each of your hands. You can rock that baby, maybe slightly alternating, straightening and bending each knee, walking them out, whatever you see fit. And then coming out of happy baby, you can lay flat and then reach for a block for supported bridge. Plant both feet firmly on the mat once more. Lift the hips and slide the block under the small of your back on its lowest level. Relax into the supported bridge. While still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or you can do this without the strap. We're going to do legs up the wall, get the canvas across the balls of both feet. You can use an actual wall if you like. And you can pedal out your knees, slightly bending one and then the other, walk them out. Enjoy this last legs up the wall. When you're done, you can set the strap to the side, remove the block. If it's in your practice, there's an option here for a shoulder stand and the plow. You can take a minute or two to do these, or yogi's choice, any stretching you would like to do to feel complete before getting into the Savasana, or you can get into the Savasana early and we'll meet you there. Should you be in a shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes, flex your heels, twisting your ankles. You might want to scissor your legs long, or any movements that you're inclined to do, before then transitioning into the plow. As you come out of the plow, slow and controlled, with your chin tucked, one vertebrae at a time if you can, roll yourself down to the mat to relax into Savasana. Remembering the intentions you set at the beginning of this practice. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on your wellness. As we bring our awareness back into the room and back to our bodies, you can either roll to one side or the other and rest there before you carefully push yourself to sit up. Or if it's more comfortable for you, you have an option to tuck your chin in slightly and come up onto your elbows behind yourself, rocking lightly, and then straightening your arms out behind you to push yourself up. If you're on your side, you can push yourself to be sitting up and coming into easy pose. Place your left hand onto your right knee, right hand onto the floor behind you, lightly twisting to the right, and then you can lift your right arm up high, crossing it over your left arm, right hand onto your left knee, arms are crossed, and then reaching your left hand behind yourself for a light twist. And then crossing that left arm, lifting it high over the right arm, before then lightly hugging yourself in this basket shape. yourself in as tightly as you can, making yourself into a small little seedling, taking up as little space as possible. Constrict yourself into a ball tightly before then releasing, stretching your arms out wide to the sides into a star shape. Then placing each hand onto each of your knees, touching the pointer fingers to the thumbs. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. We'll chant Om 3 times in a low pitch on the exhale. Stretch your arms out wide again for that half moon arch. Coco. Bringing the arms up overhead into prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or knuckles to your third eye on the way to hands over heart. And then reaching out the arms wide again, one last time for one more half moon arch. Prayer hands overhead. Slowly lowering your prayer hands to hands over heart and bowing to close and seal this practice. And so it is. I thank you for practicing with me today. Be well. Enjoy a very blessed rest of your day.
Coco, come here, baby.
Make sure you drink your water.
Oh, she's all nervous from the thunder. She's such a cutie. All right. Love and light. Thanks for practicing yoga with me.